Alright, hello friends. Today we are going to do an unboxing and review of the CVJ MEI. First, I'd just like to give a shout out to CVJ. Thank you guys for sending this in for review. I know it's been a couple weeks, been really busy. I have some CIEMs I'm working on here. I got a bunch of reviews, and then I got a few prototype IEMs. Ooh, oh, anyway, but yeah, I appreciate their patience, and yeah, let's get into this. So, brand, of course, CVJ. If you guys aren't familiar with them, they're a budget brand, kind of in the likes of TRN and KZ. So pretty affordable products. You know, it's like 50 and under, 100 and under kind of thing. So anyway, these I believe right now are going for $59.99 US. They consist of one dynamic driver. It's a 10 millimeter. It's like titanium plated or some sort of metallized dome, and then it has two balanced armatures. So there are one of them is a Knowles, I believe a 33518, and the other is a, I believe, E Audio 30095, but we'll find out later because we'll tear this down. But anyway, if you notice, there are two tuning switches, and there are also two color choices. So you have your choice of silver or black anodized metal. If we take a look on the back here, we have our tuning little chart here, so we can essentially these work as switches. So first off, in a typical IEM that has tuning switches like the TRN here, the switches affect the tuning. They do not actually control the drivers, meaning they don't actually turn on and off drivers. They just limit the amount of current that goes to a particular driver. So if you flip the switch on, it opens the circuit and allows more power, so the driver gets louder. And then when you turn the switch down, or vice versa, it's actually the opposite way. But anyway, if you flip the switch the opposite direction, it introduces a resistor into the circuit and reduces the volume by whatever the set amount is. But these function a little bit differently. Essentially, the way these work are the balanced armatures are on switches, and they are legitimate on-off switches. So technically, you're getting 4 different IEMs out of this one IEM. So the default configuration with both switches down is just the dual magnet dynamic by itself. And then the first switch up is the Knowles BA driver and the dynamic driver. Then the second switch up is the customized BA driver, which I believe is the E Audio driver and the dynamic driver. And then finally, both switches up is the one dynamic driver and then both BA. So the Knowles and the customized BA comes in, like I said, 2 different colors, and then you can get microphone, no microphone. Sensitivity is 120 dB, so super high sensitivity, super low ohm load. So basically anything can drive these. You can use your cell phone, whatever, doesn't matter. So no amp, no DAC required, no dongle, nothing like that. Comes in a little box. It's a nice little box. So we open them up. Now these are fingerprint magnets. So let me just grab some gloves real quick. Alright guys, so just one disadvantage to the silver model. They are very fingerprint prone, and they are a little bit scratch prone. So that's why I'm wearing gloves right now. But yes, very shiny, nice metallized finish, nice appearance. They look kind of like the Moondrop KXXS or Canas or whatever. So they have that sort of folded appearance on the faceplate there. And then here we have the switches. So you can see. Sorry, trying to keep it in focus. Come on. Anyway, so we have the switches here. And yeah, and I guess I'm not sure what that writing is. I believe it probably says May or something, but yeah. So CVJ MEI, You have two vents here on the inside. You have a relief here. That's for the back vent, and then we have a vent for the dynamic driver for the cavity right here. But yeah, so they're pretty nice IMs. They look nice. Yeah. There we go. So yeah, it's a nice appearance. As far as accessories go, I believe the accessories are a little sparse. So we have a little box here. We'll just open this up real quick. So we do get a little bag. You get some ear tips. These are like K-Bear style, like KB07 type tips. And then we have a silver cable here. Now I'm not a big fan of these stock cables. They're not bad, but they're just good enough to kind of get you by. So anyway, stock cable. There's no chin cinch. Really stiff ear hooks. Yeah, not a great cable. It does come with a wrap, but yeah, just standard, kind of typical cable. One cool inclusion is the little brush here with the side for changing the tuning switches. So these can be a little hard to change. So it's nice to have something like this where you can just flip the switches, and of course you can just take that and throw that inside the bag with the IMs and the tips and everything, and it'll store them nicely. So not a bad package overall. But how do they sound? Let's get into that. So anybody familiar with CVJ will know that they've had kind of a checkered history. They've had a few good releases back like 2 years ago with the what is it? So they had the mirror and the HS8 or whatever it is. It was an 8 driver, 4-and-4, I believe. So they had a couple good releases, and then they came out with the Demon, which was a flop, and there were a few others. The Angel, which was a flop. Just not great sound quality. The build and everything was fine. There was nothing wrong with that, but they kind of lost their way as far as the tuning goes. But congratulations, they're back. These are awesome. They're really good. They're not bad at all. They do have some stiff competition, being in the $60 range. They're pushing right up against the EA 500. For anybody that's not aware, the EA 500 is like earning its reputation as a pretty legendary single dynamic pair of earphones. I'm not gonna compare the two really. I might give them a little bit of a comparison because they do kind of fare evenly, but these are a little different, being a hybrid. So you know, I don't want to compare a hybrid IM to a single DD, but anyway, so yeah, so 59 bucks. They do have some competition, but they're not bad. So if you haven't, you know, if you're a fan of CVJ and you haven't heard them in a while and you want to give them a chance, you know, maybe you were disappointed with the last couple releases and you want to give them a shot, these are easy, safe, no-brainer. They're not bad at all. So let's talk about the sound. A couple plus sides. So they have a very nice, wide sound field. The sound field is big. It's got ample room for instruments to move around. The instrument placement is pretty good. It's pretty precise. I mean, for like 60 bucks, it's not bad at all. But yeah, there's a lot of width. There's very little pressure. There's no like pressure on the ears or anything. They're very adequately vented. The mid-range quality is nice and smooth. The bass quality is good. It's got nice, decent, kind of technical, but kind of, you know, punchy bass for the most part. It's not bad at all. They do have a little bit of sibilance, and they do have a little bit of BA timbre. Now let's talk about the sibilance, because as soon as people hear the S word or sibilance, they think that an IM is sharp or harsh or sounds bad. Or no, there's two different kinds of sibilance. So you have kind of a sharp, aggressive sibilance in the S's. I mean, sibilance is basically just your S's, your P's, like your plosives, your T's, that kind of thing. So when someone's singing or talking and they're using a lot of S's, you know, consonants, like as far as T's go, P's, plosives, you know, your p-p-pus, that kind of stuff. It's mostly in the S's, but there's a little bit of sibilance there, and that's just because there is a slight lack of dampening on the part of the BAs, but it's not really sharp, it's not harsh, anything like that. They do benefit from a little bit of burn-in, but not much. They change just a tiny amount. But yeah, but other than that, the extension is good. They extend very well into the upper treble. There's lots of air, lots of room for air. Vocal quality is really good. The like I said, the bass quality is pretty decent. So as far as the stage goes, there's a little bit of height. There's pretty good layering for the most part. Yeah, not bad. I mean, they're a solid option all around. But yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of sibilance, so you will notice emphasis in the S's and P's and stuff. If you are sensitive to treble, obviously you can first change the tuning. So buddy of mine, now I use these with both switches in the on position just because I like both BAs mixed together. But for example, you can have the first switch down and the second switch up, which will take away just a little bit of the treble, and you'll still get a pretty decent response. Or if you want to, you can run it with the Knowles driver on, and you'll get even less treble, and you'll keep a little bit more of the air region, but it'll cut back more on the lower kind of treble. Or if you are just really sensitive to treble, you can just turn them both down and you'll have the single DD. Now, in my opinion, having the single DD by itself is too dark. It's not enough upper or lower treble, upper mid emphasis, in my opinion. It's just too low. What is it? The blue line. Where is it? Blue line. Up, down. So the blue line, yeah, with the Knowles up is the next lowest treble option. That, in my opinion, is like the minimum that you want for treble with these. There's a big dip, and we'll take a look at it here in a second, but from about 4 to 7 kilohertz, and that is with just the DD and the Knowles BA. Now, when you have all of them mixed together, it's a completely different graph, and I'll show you guys in a second here. But yeah, so both up are fine. If you have a little bit of sensitivity to treble, then you can turn one of them down, and that will tame a little bit of the treble for you. But yeah, they're not aggressive. They're not really harsh or anything. They're very clean. They're a little dry. The timbre is a little dry, and that's because the balanced armatures don't have, like I said, a lot of dampening. The only dampening for the balanced armatures is being done. Sorry, I got a little smuts there. But all the dampening is being done by this metal plate here with these small holes, and then there's a very wide mesh underneath. So it's not a fine mesh. It's got a pretty wide structure to it. So not a lot of dampening. But yeah, so you will get some dry BA timbre. Now, fortunately enough, the BA that they use, their custom BA, is actually really good. It's surprisingly good, in fact. It kind of shocked me how good it sounded. So yeah, so not bad at all. That custom BA is doing a fantastic job. And we'll take a look at the graph here in a second. Now, you will notice when we take a look at the graph, there is an 8K peak, but disregard that. Most of that is due to the coupler. There is a little bit of 8K energy, but it's not really harsh or aggressive. There is like I said, there is a little bit of sibilance, and there is definitely some BA timbre going on. So if you're not a fan of BA timbre, you might want to, stick with a single DD. But otherwise, these are good. So, like I said, pros would be the wide sound stage, good layering, good imaging. The pros would also be the mid-range quality is fairly smooth. It's also, so one thing I didn't really talk about is the resolution. So these are actually fairly well resolving. I mean, actually pretty good. for 60 bucks. It's not bad. So you will get some good technicalities with these for the $60 price point. And then, like I said, oh, also there's not much of an issue with coherence. Some people will want to know, are they coherent? Um, for the most part, yes. There is a little bit of transition from the dynamic driver to the balanced armatures because the balanced armatures are quite ahead of the dynamic driver. So the dynamic driver sits about here, and the BA sit like right at the end. So there is a little bit, but in my opinion, what that does is it increases the amount of layering and technicalities that you can hear because the treble is kind of separated from the rest of it, or like the upper mids to treble is kind of separated from the low mids and on. So yeah, so it just exaggerates or kind of emphasizes the amount of separation you get between instruments. So yeah, so there is a little bit of incoherence, but it's not bad. There's no like masking or anything going on. Some IEMs, you'll hear like masking of frequencies, and you'll hear some unevenness where there'll be things that kind of spike out at you. There is a little bit of unevenness in the treble, and again, that's just a result of having a little bit of dampening on the nozzles here. So not the most well controlled, but for the most part, it's pretty good. I mean, I honestly, for the price, I can't really complain. There's not too much that I can pinpoint or complain about. So yeah, so we'll leave it at that. So CVJ MEI, solid option, a little on the bright side. So if you're not into bright sounding IMs, like I said, you can change it. They're only really bright when you have both switches up, but you can adjust that. So not the biggest deal. If they were not adjustable, then I would say, you know, maybe try swapping tips. But again, yeah. So if you're into kind of a neutral sound, now they're not really V-shaped, and you'll see here in a second the bass emphasis looks like quite a bit, but that's mostly just my coupler. The bass is actually kind of rolled just a tiny bit. But yeah, very well balanced. Mostly like a neutral bright signature. So if you're in the mood for like a neutral bright IM, or you're going shopping for a neutral bright IM, and your budget is in about the $60 range, and you've never bought a hybrid before and you want to own a hybrid, definitely a good option. Take a look at the CVJ MEI. There's not really much to go wrong about them. Now, say you did buy them and the BA timbre just happened to be too much for you, which I personally don't think it is. It does decrease a little bit with burn-in, but you could always just add some dampeners or some filters to the nozzle. So not a big deal. They're like $3 on AliExpress. But yeah, definitely a good option. Like I said, there's no issues with pressure buildup. The sound stage is very nice and open, very wide, nicely flowing. There's lots of detail. There's lots of treble air. The resolution is pretty good for 60 bucks, so not bad. Anyway, let's get over to the graph. Alright guys, so we got a graph of the CVJ MEI on the screen here, and you'll see this nice little bass curve here. Now, in all reality, the bass curve is a little bit lower. My coupler has an affinity for bass, so it's not actually that high in all reality. These are not a bass head IM by any means. They're more of a neutral IM, so just kind of ignore that for the most part. Now, there is a little bit of sub bass emphasis, but it sounds good. It complements the rest of the frequency response very well. So not a bass head IM, maybe a little bit on the bassy side, but not much. So anyway, so we have a slight dip here into the lower mids. Now, it still has a good amount of energy here, so male vocals will keep most of their tonality. They'll sound pretty lively. You still get a lot of energy in instruments like, you know, cello or what is it? Whatever's bass, cello, you know, that kind of area. We start gaining energy a little bit before the 1K region, but it's not bad. It's relatively low, so there's not really any honkiness or anything like that. There's no shout. But yeah, so the gain, what is it, 110, 108, 115, so like 8, 9, 8 dB, something like that. But yeah, so the well, you can see it right here. So the blue line and the green line. So the green line is just the dynamic driver by itself. The blue line is the nulls driver and the dynamic driver. The yellow line is the other BA, so the stock BA, and the red is the is all of the switches up. So not a big difference in the, what is it, the nulls driver, I believe. No, the nulls driver doesn't really add much. But anyway, yeah, so these are the graphs here, but you can see the green one is both switches down, and you can see that huge dip. So you get that little 4K peak or 3.5K peak, and then it just kind of goes, and then you get a little peak here around 8. I don't know if that's real. That might be real. These ones up here, this is mostly an artifact of the coupler, so you can disregard that for the most part. In all reality, it does kind of go up a little bit, but it's not that pronounced, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, so then once we start getting into the treble, we lose a little bit of energy here, but for the most part, it just keeps trucking right along the screen. The what is it? The yellow line. So we do lose a little bit in the upper frequencies here, but most people can't even hear this area up in here. This is like 18, 17, 18 kilohertz, but it does regain energy anyway. But yeah, overall, pretty nice graph. For the most part, where is it? 5K right here. There is a little bit of 5K energy, so people who are sensitive to that area might not, I don't know, it might be a little bit too much for them. Not sure. But for me, there were no issues. So there's the graph of the CVJ MEI. Overall, it's a nice graph. Nothing wrong with it. Sounds good to my ears. Ideally, maybe you would want it to start gaining energy a little bit later, instead of, what is it, like 800 hertz. But honestly, you get fuller mids when you start gaining energy a little bit earlier. So again, there's nothing wrong with that either. All in all, sounds good in my opinion. All right, guys. Sorry, I got a bird on my shoulder. But anyway, so to complete the review, all in all, is the CVJ MEI worth the money? Yeah, I think so. Is it, gonna win any records or anything? No, I don't think so. There's just so much competition in the $100 and under, $60, $50 and under area, that it's really hard to compete. So like compared to the EA 500, the EA 500 is definitely a little bit smoother. Similar, probably poorer technicalities on the EA 500. I don't know, maybe not, but definitely a more natural timbre. They're better coherence on the EA 500, but it's a single DD, so like I said, you can't really compare the two. You do get a better cable on the EA 500. The cable is actually pretty cheap, so CVJ, if you guys are watching this, you can do better. Just try to include a better cable. Other than that, I have no complaints with the MEI. I think it's a good product. I think it sounds good. Like I said, even if you do have an issue with brightness or treble or anything like that, it's adjustable, it's tunable. There's all kinds of stuff you could do with it. You could increase bass by adding a dampener on the nozzle there, or you can decrease some of the treble or the treble timbre by adding a dampener on the nozzle. So yeah, so not bad at all. The only thing is they are definitely fingerprint magnets, and they do show scratches, so there are some signs of scratching there. But these have been kind of rattling around in my IEM bag and have come along with me on many trips in the last couple weeks. So for that amount of wear and where they've been, it's not bad at all. So the finish is actually pretty durable. But yeah, guys, with that being said, let's dig into it, take it apart. I do have one thing to mention as far as QC goes, and CVJ, they'll see this so they can kind of address it in the future. It's not a big deal, but it is something, so I'll show you guys and then they can see as well. Alright, so again, one thing you'll notice that the build quality on these is actually pretty good. I was actually surprised. This is right here. Stop it! These plates actually come off very easily. There we go. So let's see if I can do this and have it be in focus. I'll tell you what, guys, just stop it. This stupid camera. I thought I would be getting a better camera from this Google Pixel 6 Pro, but god damn, is the focus ever stupid on this thing. My my Xiaomi Poco X3 has way better focus and better clarity when you zoom in, but it's got an issue with one of the microphones right now that I haven't been able to address. But anyway, so when we open up the MEI, come on, we are greeted with the single dynamic driver. We have a PCB here in the back. This houses our switches. It is nicely shrink wrapped, so there is heat shrink tubing on the wires, which is very nice to see. I did have a case where one of the wires did detach from one of the balanced armatures, but that could have been from me opening the IM, so not a big deal. It was just one of these negative wires here. But when I got them out of the box and I played them, and before I opened them up, you know, the channel matching and the balance is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, so let's dig into this a little bit. Let me just pause real quick and then I'll get these open. Alright guys, so this is our dynamic driver here, and it was actually a little bit worse, but you'll see there's actually a good amount of glue residue here on the actual diaphragm itself. Now, in terms of impact on sound quality, it really didn't make that much. I personally didn't really notice too much. There was a slight difference in sound between one ear and the other, but I'm very sensitive to that kind of thing, and I'll let you guys know if it's bad, if it bothers me. But this was not bad at all. But I opened it up and I kind of noticed that there was some glue on the driver. So just a shout out to CVJ. Just be careful how much glue you guys get in this area here, because these wires poking out will poke into the driver and you will get a little bit of glue on the driver. But yeah, nice driver. I don't know. I don't think it's beryllium coated. I think it's maybe some sort of titanium coating. I'll have to go back and look at the marketing materials. I don't even think they really said anything about it. But yeah, it's definitely a coated driver. So essentially the coating will give it a little bit more brightness in the treble. And it usually impacts the stiffness. In this case, the coating that they're using is like nano molecule. It's a very thin, very small coating. So it doesn't really affect stiffness too much, but yeah, it supposedly adds to the treble a little bit. But yeah, so there are our BAs down in there. Let me get those out real quick and I'll show you guys those. Alright guys, just got it apart. Stupid thing, actually lost the nozzle for the Knowles BA. Not a big issue though. I can always glue that back on. But anyway, yeah. So I was right. So it is a 33518 for the treble. So pretty much just a standard Knowles treble BA. You see these things everywhere. I use them in my OnePlus 3s. There's actually one in one of the prototypes that I'm working with right now. Overall, it's the cheapest treble BA that Knowles makes, but it's, from all accounts, it's the same exact quality as the 30095, and but at a much cheaper price. It actually uses a fully automated assembly, like, production line. It's apparently Knowles' first fully automated assembly line, and that's how they're able to make them for so cheap. But yeah, these things are awesome. It's my favorite BA by far, just because of its versatility and its affordability. And then here, the custom BA that we have has the CVJ branding on it. It is an E-Audio BA. E-Audio have really, or A-Audio, E-Audio, I guess they're kind of one and the same, but they've really stepped up their game as far as their BA quality goes. Not sure in relation to Belzing, if Belzing have stepped up their quality of BA with their in regards to their treble BA, because these used to be really spicy before. I mean, even like 2 years ago, I still have some on hand that the seller recently gave me. My guy that supplies me with BAs, but he gave me a free pair, and I don't know if that's because they changed the design and he just wanted to send me those as a gift. Um, but yeah, I worked with them before, and they're good and they have good extension, but they're a little on the spicy side, and they really stop, and they really need some extra dampening. But anyway, yeah. But these sound good for sure. And I mean, the only amount of dampening that you have on this whole IM, as far as the BA go, are this little, the little mesh, and you can see it's not a very fine mesh. It's kind of a loose mesh, and then you have your punch steel plate there. But yeah, that's what we got. But yeah, the CVJ MEI, good build quality. Here's the switch portion there. It's got a little plate inside to hold the switches in. You can just barely make it out. But and then you have your dampener in there for the dynamic driver. But yeah, good job. Congratulations to CVJ. Build quality is decent. The shell's decent. It's cheap metal, but I mean, the whole thing is electroplated. Usually some companies only do one surface. But yeah, I mean, they're nice. They look nice, they sound nice, they fit well. The nozzles are just maybe a little bit on the shallow side, but yeah, not bad at all. So congratulations to CVJ. I can't wait to see what you guys have in the future. I have their single DD coming on the way. It's got some new fancy black carbon or gold carbon driver or whatever. It's like black gold, they call it. And they also have this like neon fluorescent kind of dynamic driver that they have in their Freedom model, which is coming up soon, and that is a 1DD 4BA. So really excited to see that one, and I'm excited to see their black gold kind of diaphragm coating. So, but anyway, guys, I'll leave you with that. I got a bunch of projects I got to go work on. I got companies hitting me up trying to get me to finish my reviews. So, but yeah, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Just peace.